Hello Stampers, my name is Linda Bedinger and I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, and this is my video for my November paper pumpkin, and I know it's already December but I'm a bit behind. So this one is called To You and Yours November 2018 paper pumpkin, and the paper pumpkin kit, my box is pretty much empty because I've got all my pieces out now. And I have figured out a way to make, are you ready for this? 50 cards out of this kit. And it might be a little bit under 50, but real close to 50, depending on how you wanted to do it. The card kit is meant to assemble 10 cards that look like these, and they are lovely. This paper is absolutely gorgeous. Paper pumpkin people have really stepped up their game. This is the red pattern paper. Isn't that gorgeous, with the gold embellishments? And then this is the cream colored paper with the plaid and the gold on it. So there's actually quite a bit that you can do with this. And so I'm going to show you what my alternatives, as is my practice. I don't make up any of these cards. There are plenty of people out there that show you how to do that and make these cards, and the instructions are absolutely foolproof. There is a way for you to learn how to make these cards and do them and use all the material in the kit, but I'm going to show you some alternatives. I took each of these pieces of paper and I cut them down into 3 pieces at 1 3/4 inches. And at 1 3/4 inches, you get 3 panels out of each of these cards. Now, you're given a total of 5 of these card pieces here. And in my first design that I'm going to show you, I have to find it here. This is the card that I made and its component pieces. So this is the card I made. And so you could make literally 5 cards from, you could make 15 cards because you have 5 of these sheets. And if you got 3 pieces this size out of every one of these sheets, you would have the ability to make 3 times 5 or 15 cards that looked like this. The other thing you could do is to just shake it up a little bit, is put this plaid part on the bottom and put the wood planks, pine planks embossing folder here at the top, and do it the reverse just to have it be a little bit different. So with each of these pieces of paper, you could make 30 cards if you just did this design. And I'm going to show you a couple of other things that I've done with this size paper so that it doesn't all have to be this way. Like I said, the plaid could be at the top, the plaid could be at the bottom. This is the second card I made using one of those strips. Now, I did use a little of my own very vanilla cardstock and a little cherry cobbler, and those are the only things I used outside of what's in the kit for all of my designs. So this is card number 1, this is card number 2, and they're decorated on the inside. And I'll show you how I came up with the decorations just using the materials that I've been given in the kit. And here's this one. I did give up one of these strips to make some 1/4 inch strips to decorate the inside of the card. So that would reduce the number by a few if you chose to do that. Okay, the third design is utilizing the other piece that's given to you in the kit. In the kit this time, you get an envelope, and it's got this absolutely beautiful plaid paper on the inside. Well, never one to waste a piece of colored paper. I clipped the ends off of this with my trimmer so that I got a nice clean cut, and guess what? You get a 4 by 5 1/4 piece of paper out of this envelope, and then a large circle that can be punched out of this part. And this is the design that I came up with using that schematic. I put together this card, which uses a little bit more vanilla paper here, and they also give you in the kit, their cards are put on these craft bases. Well, I didn't use my bases for bases. I punched out circles, and I used the interiors for other designs. We'll put an interior design on this one while we're doing it today, but that is one design using this piece of paper cut out here, 5 1/4 by 4 by 4, and then cut diagonally. So I got 2 cards out of each envelope. Well, there's 10 envelopes. So that's another 20 cards that you could make from this kit. So if you just use the envelopes and you slice them and you did some variation of these 2 cards, that would give you 20 cards. Then, depending on how many of these 4 by 1 3/4 inch strips you used, you could get another 30 cards out of this kit. So the way I calculated that is you could get a maximum of about 50 cards out of this one kit. That would pretty well do your Christmas cards for the year. So I'm organized here to show you how I did some of these. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with this one. And this is the one where I used a little bit more from my own stash to do this. Let me show you the other components you get in this card kit. You get a cherry cobbler ink spot. You get this beautiful woven twine ribbon. I guess, I don't know what they're calling it, ribbon or twine, but it's like it's braided. It's really pretty. And on this one, I just made a little knot, and then I used my pokey tool to separate the strands and fray this so that it made a little bit more of a little decoration that went like that. And I thought that was more than sufficient given the other red on the card. The stamp set is very nice. Let me see if I put it behind this, if that's in. It is a little easier. So we've got Merry Christmas to you and yours, for you, a little star, a little feather. This sentiment, here's to a Christmas filled with love, laughter, and all you wish for. It's the most wonderful time of the year. Happy holidays and merry and bright. And the ones that I used for the cards that I made, and you could certainly mix and match and find a way to use this one, I used Happy Holidays, Merry and Bright, It's the Most Wonderful Time of the Year, and Here's to a Christmas Filled with Love, Laughter, and All You Wish For, and the little feather. And so those are the ones that I used. The kit also includes 2 packages of these adhesive-backed sequins. Of course, your glue dots and your dimensionals, and it also includes these vellum circles, and in this case I cut it in half, and there's quite a few circles in here. I think you get 5 or 6, and so I could get 12 embellishments out of that. Then the other thing it gives you are these wood grained stickers that are the circles, and the way I used mine were on this card, and I put this little circle piece underneath my plaid, and I figured out a way to cut the circle into a triangle so that I got 3 circle edges off of each circle that they give you, so you could stretch that particular part of your card. Now you could put the other one up here if you wanted to make it a little different, but I chose to just use a half a circle, or whatever that is, a third of a circle, something like that, down here on the bottom, so I could have many opportunities. I could get 3 cards out of each of these circles. The other thing you're given, like I said, are these brown bases, and then these beautiful die-cut leaves, and there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I've already used one, 5 of these die cuts, and they're 1, 2, 3, 4, so there's 12 per page, so there's 60 of these pine boughs here, and those actually stretch quite a ways. They were going to have you make a wreath out of it, but I found it stretched a lot further if I just used 1 or 2 per card. And let's see, what else do they give you in the kit besides all of these wonderful envelopes with that wonderful paper in it? Oh, these labels. So the labels that came with the kit, you have these little vellum strips that you can put behind others of these to show a little bit of vellum off to the side. There are these double flagged banners here, these larger banners with the gold trim on them, and I used only one of these for the cards that I made, and I think you could easily cut these tags in half and tuck the bottom half behind something so only the part on top shows, and you could easily get, there are 6 here, so you could easily get 12 banners that you could use in some fashion on these cards as well. This is a very rich kit for possible resources and things to do with the material that you've been given. So let's just get started here, and we're going to start with this one. And I think I've got all of my stuff. I did a little bit of pre-work so it wouldn't take so long to go through the videos. So what I have here is my piece for here. I have my cherry cobbler base, and I'm going to, let's see, what am I going to do here? I'm just going to burnish this and get this card base ready to go. Then, to save a little bit of time on this, you need 2 pieces of Whisper White cut 4 by 5 1/4, and 1 to run through your embossing folder. And the embossing folder I used was the one called Pine Planks, and I would say just pick an embossing folder that you have in your kit and use it for everything. And that way, it's minimal amount of outside resources that you need. If you have this one, that's wonderful. If you have anything else with a wood grain or wood grain paper to use instead, it all works. Okay, so here I have my pieces ready to go here, and all I did was take this and lay it across here and glue it down, and I used tape runner. So I am going to use my tape runner on my paper here and put some glue down on the back and put it across my piece that has been embossed so that I cover everything at the top. Then what I did was I took this piece of sticker that came in the kit, and I cut these pieces here in half. So just using your trimmer. The other thing I did was, because I wanted to use the edges, I took the edges off of the sticker paper here. It comes this way. So I took these edges and I cut them off all the way around so that I could use them as a little bit of embellishment on the inside of the card. And so I've done that, so I'm going to show you. I took a couple of them off, but I thought I would just show what exactly I did here. So I put this on the cutting channel, and I just took that edge off, and I can use that at the bottom of my card. I took the top edge off and this edge. Now I have just this last edge to take off here. And there you go. You've got edges for various parts and pieces of your cards. And just to use every little ounce that they gave me. And you could sacrifice one of these and take a bunch of 1/8 inch strips off of these to do the inside of the card. But I used a 1/2 strip on this card. So I'm going to take that sticker here that is 1/2 of that strip and show you. it doesn't quite cover the whole piece across here. So I just put it to the edge. This paper has lines on it, so it's very easy to line up, and took this piece across as far as it would go. And then I took my vellum circles here, and I thought I had one cut and had a half. Maybe I did stick it in here. So I used this piece of vellum here, and then my one twig of pine here, my little ribbon knot right in here, and by the time you get done, this camouflages the fact that this doesn't come all the way across. So what I did was I put a little bit of snail right in the center, because that's all going to be covered, and put that into place a little bit up rather than centered on my card here. And then I did use a couple of glue dots, as I recall, on this piece. And, well, here's the glue dots from the kit. Why not use those? So I took a couple of glue dots and put them on the back of my pine here. There's a couple spots where the glue dots work really well on the back of these pine pieces here. And then you just take off the little backs that come on them. Actually, I like these little glue dots that are covered like this, because you can pick them up with your pokey tool and put them down where you want them. And then put this in place right here along this edge to start my camouflage, and already you can't tell that piece has gone across. Then I took this little piece and I just tied it in a little knot. You just don't need a very big piece. I suppose I could cut it a little bit bigger and then get the pieces off of it. But there you go. I've got all of them now. And then tie this in a little knot. And then what I did was I just used my pokey tool to separate the little threads in the pieces that were woven here to the side. And basically all you're doing is separating them from being in their woven state. And then clean this up a little bit just with my scissors so that it wasn't completely frayed. And then I used another glue dot here, and in this case I'm going to put this glue dot way up here and peel that off and put this one in place right there. And now my camouflage of that spot is complete, and I've got that cute little faux bow on there. Now I didn't do my stamping before I put this down, and I sure could have done that. So I'm going to do it now here. I think it should be okay. Merry and Bright. And I'm going to use my ink spot that came in the kit and get my ink down on here. When a photopolymer stamp is brand new, it's really good to wipe it across your fingers and the palm of your hand before you ink it up the first time, or dip it in a little bit of Versamark, and it kind of conditions the stamp. And if you don't do that, then do a practice stamp first, because it doesn't always stamp perfectly the first time. So I'm going to put my Merry and Bright, and hopefully I'll get that on here and get it straight. And there's my Merry and Bright. Now I'm going to take a couple of the sequins that came in the kit. There are 2 packages of sequins, and one of my packages gone missing in action here. But I also have some of our metallic sequin mix that has the gold sequins, and I thought when I run out, I would just go to those. And you may have gold sequins or little gold dots or gold rhinestones or whatever you have in your stash to put in place, and it just finishes off the cards so nicely. They just look so much more professionally done. So that is what is my card front here. Now that is ready to go on my Cherry Cobbler card base here, and I'm just going to use some snail to put that down. And I realized that on this card I used the debossed side. I didn't even realize it. So you see the difference on that? This one is the embossed side and this is the debossed side. I like both of them. I think they're interesting. Okay, so we're going to lay this down on here, and there our card front is done. On the inside, I need another piece of Cherry Cobbler, and what I did here was I used my little feather stamp, and I used, I think it was Mossy Meadow here. I think that's, no, it's Garden Green. Okay, here's my Garden Green. And what I did was on this one, I better put the lid on that, is to stamp a few of these pine boughs here in the corner. There we go. And then I used one of these pieces that I trimmed off the edge of here to go on the bottom here. And I only need about that much. And I can save that little piece for another spot. Now let's see if I can actually get this sticker off of here. I think I can. And center this on the bottom here of, got a little stray bit there on the bottom, and center this on the bottom of this card at the bottom of the stems of my pines here. There we go. And then in addition to that, I used the stamp set that said here's to a Christmas filled with love, laughter, and all you want, or all you hope for, I guess. I got a little interruption there, but I think this is right where I was, and I think all we have left to do here is ink up this message here and get that stamped on the inside of our card. And so we're going to set that right here on my card. And you'll notice I'm not using my Pierce mat. That's because I've got a little cushion underneath this grid paper today. So I'm able to just stamp right down. And here we go. We got a little bit of an issue in that it didn't completely cover. So I'm going to take my Cherry Cobbler pen here, and I'm going to, there we go. Nice and finished. Okay. Now I'm going to add some snail on the back here. And if that were to happen to you and you were to stamp and you're really not happy with the way it came out, you can always stamp on another little piece and just lay it across and put a little ribbon on it or something and make it look like it's part of the design element. So we're going to put this into place here and put a sequin. Let's see, maybe one of these larger ones here. Right up here, and that is the finish of our first card. So there's our original, and there's our card that we made together today. And so that is card number 1. Now we're going to move right on to card number 2. And I'm going to move these out of the way a bit here and bring in the sample of card number 2, and that's this one. Now, the pieces that I have to make this particular one, we have a piece of cherry cobbler, and this, first of all, this is a vanilla base that is 11 by 4 1/4 scored and folded at 5 1/2. So this is a side long opening card here. All right, and the pieces that I have here, this piece of cherry cobbler is 1 1/2. Oh, that's a different piece. 1 1/2 by 5 1/4, and I've run that through that same embossing folder here so I could have something with a little texture on my card here. So that can go directly on my card base. And I'm going to just put a little bit of snail on the back of that card piece there. And that is going to go right along the top there of our card with a little margin around on either side. Then we're going to take our piece of designer series paper here, and we're going to layer that right on here, kind of filling up that card a little bit. And I'm using dimensionals on this piece, and because it's a little bit long, I'm going to set those dimensionals on the corners and one in the center. I'm going to add this piece right down here, centered and filling up a little bit more of our card front. Then this is a label that was given in here, a sticker that is a circle of the wood grain here. And what I've done is I cut the circle and I cut a triangle out of the middle because what I was interested in are these corners here. So I'm just going to finish my triangle and go ahead and cut across to this other angle. Then I'm going to save this triangle because I can use that as the piece I put into my other triangles to mark off the pieces that I want to get my sticker off of here. And this little half moon or quarter moon is all I really want. And I'm going to lay that, kind of tuck it right underneath here in the center and lay that piece down across there. Again, more filling the card. Then I have this piece of the craft, and that again was one of these pieces that were meant originally to be part of the bases for the cards. And so we're going to use that a little differently here, and I'm going to stamp my Happy Holidays stamp on that one. And so I'm going to ink that up along the bottom here and stamp my Happy Holidays right here, sort of to one end, and as straight and centered as I can get it here. And I'm going to stamp that, and hopefully I'll have a good image. Yeah, pretty close. Okay, so what I'm going to do is cut this end off here and cut a little flag end into this end of my banner, make it a little bit more like a banner here. And this piece is going to go along here and say Happy Holidays, and I'm going to put that up on dimensionals as well. my happy holidays right down here on the bottom of my card. Then I have two of these bows that I'm going to set down on here, and I'm going to use my little glue dots here. There we go. And then I have a little piece of the twine to put that bow in the middle. There we go. And nip off one side here. And I'm going to put a couple of glue dots down here between the two bows and put my bow into place right there. Okay. And set my bow right down there in the center. Now we just need a couple of the sequins there in place, and I have a couple more of these smaller ones. Well, maybe I'll use one of the larger ones as well. I'm going to put one of the larger ones right up in here, and one of the smaller, and as soon as I run out of these, I will start using the ones from our metallic sequin mix that has the metals, and that will have some gold in it as well. So I'm going to put one there and one down here at the bottom of my card. And then on the inside, what I had was a piece of cherry cobbler, and this one is just a little bit wide, so I'm going to use my trimmer and take this down to about a ½ an inch. There we go. That's a little bit more like it. And I'm going to put some snail on the back of this piece and put that in place across the bottom of my card. So right down along here. And then I have a little piece of I sacrificed one of these panels to cut a bunch of little 1/8 of an inch pieces down here to add some embellishments, and I actually cut some edges off the green for the leaves as well, and I could use that in place here when I run out of these. Again, I'm trying to get the maximum number of cards that I can out of this kit. And so there we go. And then on this, I have also used the stamp that says it's the most wonderful time of the year. And so I'm going to ink that one up. And I'm going to place that right here on the top of my inside of my card here, and try to get that centered and straight. And I think that'll work. Add a little pressure and give it a second for that ink to soak in. And there we go. Nice image. Okay, so there we have this card number 2 completed. So I'm going to now move these out of the way and move on to the last 2 cards. So the last 2 cards are cards that are made using the inside of the paper on the inside of the envelope. So I'm going to show you exactly what I did to cut that to get it to come out the way I wanted. So these are the pieces that I need for these two cards, and I'm kind of going to make these two together. So what I have here is the pieces that I need. So let me start with the envelope. Let me see here. I need two Whisper White bases, 8.5 by 5.5, scored and folded at 4 1/4. So I have two bases, one for each of the cards. Then I have this envelope piece, and I want to show you what I did. I cut off the edge of the envelope on both sides so I'd have a nice clean cut. And then when I open it up, you have this nice, great, giant expanse of this pretty paper on the inside of the envelope. And I wouldn't waste that on the inside of the envelope. So what I have done, and this is what's remaining of the envelope after I cut it up. So I cut this piece off just after the fold of the envelope. You can see there the fold, and I cut just above that fold to get a nice clean edge. Then I cut off the edges on both sides until I was inside the paper. And that magically gives you a 5 1/4 inch base here. Then I trimmed this piece down to 4 inches so that I ended up with a piece that is 5 1/4 by 4, and that left me with this piece of the envelope. And what I did to use on this card is I needed a circle. So I used my 2 1/4 inch circle punch here. And you could do this by drawing a circle on this and cutting it out also. And got it on here and got my round circle that I wanted for the other part of the decoration on my card. So I think I got maximum use out of that envelope. So this is the waste on the envelope plus the two little strips I cut off the side, but I wanted you to see what I had done. So there's my piece. Now then, what I did, you can see that I cut this on the diagonal going this way. So as this faces, the upper left-hand corner at the top and the lower right-hand corner at the bottom in the cutting channel, blade kind of in the middle of the paper because I don't want to scrunch any ends. And I cut up and then back down again, and I got my two pieces, one for this card and one for this card. Now, you need 2 more pieces of Whisper White that are 4 by 5 1/4, and I left one intact and ran it through the embossing folder so that I could, in fact, put this piece right on this edge and use that to make that card. And then this one, I cut corner to corner the same way I had cut this paper so that I could have 2 pieces that fit on the front of this card. So let me show you exactly what I did with the rest of that. So on one of these pieces, this one, I'm just going to glue this piece down to the front of the card. So I'm just going to put some snail on the back of this piece. And put that into place so that it covers that whole upper corner. Oops, looks like this piece is too long. Let's see what I did. Yep, I forgot to cut off to 5 1/4. So that should come right to the point at 5 1/4, and it does. So there's my piece. Okay, so this piece is now ready to go. So we have, let's see, one of these is longer than both of the others. I think that's the longer one, goes with that card. So with this one, what I did was I used my dot runner to put a little bit of glue on the back side of this ribbon. So I laid this one across, I don't know, right about here. Put it into place, and then put some snail on the back here. Throw a couple of these pieces away. And then just wrap this piece around and anchor it here. And there's my pretty little piece across there. And out of the second piece, that's roughly the same length, I'm going to tie my little bow there for the upper corner. Now then, I have for this card, I have 2 of these bows, and I'm just going to crisscross them and put them there, and then put my bow across the top. And this one had a little tail kind of sticking out here. So I think what I'm going to do is just cut these tails off before I lay this down. And I'm just going to use a little bit of snail, the dot runner snail here, on the back of these 2 bows and put them in place right here on my card. There we go. And then I'm going to use 2 of the glue dots here. Go ahead and put my bow into place right there. Now then, I have one of these bases, and I have a 2-inch circle, because I cut this one a little bit bigger, 2 1/4. So this is my 2-inch circle, and I'm going to set this in here and putting it right to the edge so I can get the maximum out of that. I'm going to cut this circle, and that's going to fit right over this one. And this one I'm going to stamp my sentiment here. And let me get that inked up. And put my sentiment as close to the center as I can. And get a good image down on that. Then I'm going to put a little bit of snail on the back of my circle here and center that on my plaid paper here. There, I think that's pretty good. Now I'm going to put this circular piece up on dimensionals and put that in place on my card. And there, one of these cards will be complete. So here we go. And I'm going to put 3 of these sequins, one here on my circle, one underneath my bows, and one last one up here a bit in the corner. Now that piece is ready to get put on my card base. And here is my card base, and I'm just going to add a little bit of snail to the back of this layering piece and put it in place. And there we go. There's our card front done. Now on the inside of this piece, what I did was I went back to my garden green ink here and my little bow stamp, and I put a couple of bows right up here in the corner. There's something about combinations of 3 that I just really like. There we go. And then one of these big sequins right at the top to kind of pull those together there. And then I took a green strip from the edge of my greenery and I literally cut right along the edge all the way around. And I still, after making, I think I've made, this is like 12 cards so far, I still have 3 full pages, 4 pages, 3 pages, and a few extra leaves left. And I think there are, let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, there's 12 to a page, so I still have 36, 39, almost 40 of those things left. Now then, I'm going to just take this little piece of green here along the bottom and put that into place. Let's see, just a little piece of it like that. Square that up, and it looks like it needs a little bit of a trim here to make it nice and straight. Okay, so I'm going to put a little bit of glue on the back of that strip and put that in place here on the bottom of my card. So there we go. That is one of the 2 cards with the envelope paper. So I'll set that there, close up my ink, and we'll tackle the last card. Okay, now on this one, I've taken my base and I've laid this piece in place right on my card front with a little bit of a margin. And so I want to make sure that I get plenty of tape on my corners because I don't want that to lift up. And so I'm going to make sure that all of my edges are good and covered. Okay, now this piece is going to get put into place right on my card front here. And I'm going to lay this in place so that it's got a kind of similar border on both the side here and the bottom. And there we go. There's that. And then this piece, I'm going to raise on dimensionals. So I'm going to put 1 in each of the corners here, and then 1 along this long stretch here, and then 1 kind of in the middle so that my center, well, another piece stuck itself on there, doesn't sag. So there we go. Now I'm going to put that into place on the card, And I think having that edge raised makes it a little bit more interesting. So I'm going to put this piece into place right along here. And they're fine with me if there's a little gap. That accentuates the fact that there's a little difference in the height. Now I'm going to take my piece of brown paper and I'm going to cut one of the larger circles, a 2.5 inch or 2.25 inch circle here. And again, right along the edges, and get this nice big piece that I'm going to put here, and I'm going to put one dimensional on one side, and then the other side will get some glue on it to hold it in place against the card. And I'm going to put some glue on the other two ends as well, because I have two more branches. And what I want to do is have these branches kind of go along this edge, a bit like this, to extend the color. And I'm going to put this piece in place right there, and there, there, and then I'm going to take my dimensional base off, and there's my circle put in place. This branch could have stuck out a little bit further. Let's see if I can get that to do that without tearing it. Well, maybe. There we go. That's a little bit better. All right, so a bit like that. And then on this one, I used one of the banners that was provided in the kit. And on that, I stamped my Merry and Bright. And I will put some ink on that and center that message in the middle of that banner. Merry and Bright. There we go. And then I'm going to wind this ribbon underneath here a little bit and see if I can't get that to sit. And I'm going to try, by running my fingernail along where it's curling, I can stretch that out a little bit so it's a little bit straighter, and that makes this piece just a bit easier to work with. Okay, so what I wanted was, let me put some glue on the back of this, close up my ink and put my stamp out of the way. And I think what I want is this little edge to come up right along here and make a loop here and come up on this side, and then make a loop there and come back down on this side. And I think that is just about right. And then I'm going to use some dimensionals and then put my Merry and Bright right here on the card, straight and across my decoration there. And then I need a couple of the sequins to go on this, and I have 3 on this card, and I'm putting one right up here, one right down here, and one right maybe down here. Okay, there we go. So that is this second card with the envelope paper. So that is pretty much the project for the day. And like I said, by cutting down the papers so that you get more out of each one, I think it's pretty easy to get quite a few cards out of this kit. And however many you get, I think easily you could get 30 to 40 and maybe as many as 50, depending. Now you'll run out of some of the embellishments and you'll have to make some other adjustments in order to take care of that. But, you know, certainly you could just put one sprig to one side on some of these and stretch that out a little bit further, or cut these boughs in half so that you've got, you know, a little bough on each end. So that is the project for the day. Let me bring back the other cards that we made here. And so these are my paper pumpkin alternatives for November. This year has just been, or this last quarter has just been about as crazy a time as I've had in a long time. And I'm still playing very serious catch up to get all of this caught up. So here I am in December making my November paper pumpkin alternatives. But there you have the 4 projects that are my alternatives for this time. Thank you so much for stopping by my YouTube channel today. I do so appreciate it. And if you don't already have a Stampin' Up! Demonstrator, I'd love to be your demonstrator. And or you could join my team. The join offer that's coming in January is incredible. It's $175 worth of material for $50, for $99. And then there's an opportunity to buy that amazing craft and carry tote for $50 if you would choose to. But the $175 for $99 is a terrific deal. Your choice. You get to pick anything you'd like. So that is the offer. I have several people looking at it, and I would be happy to talk to you. My number's always listed below the video, and I'd love to chat, and no pressure, just what does it take and what kind of support do you get from me and all of that, and I'm happy to help you with that. So there we go. The prize draw, we're in December now, and I have to pick my prize winner for November yet, so I will announce that in the next video. And the prize draw for the month of December is I usually do a $40 to $45 prize, so I'm going to say $45 in the New Occasions catalog. A shopping spree on me. So I think that would be kind of a fun prize to have. There's some absolutely gorgeous things in the new catalog. And if you're one of my customers, catalogs will start dropping to you. I think they start out on December 10th, and they're usually out by the 20th. And if you don't have a demonstrator and you'd like to get a catalog, please give me a call. I'd be happy to have a catalog sent to you. And so that's it for me today. Thanks again for stopping by, and I'll be back soon with more cards and more projects. Bye.